The phone rang at 3:47 in the morning. A number I didn't recognize, with an area code from a place I'd never been. In that deep, silent hour, any sound feels like an alarm. I fumbled for the receiver, my heart already thudding against my ribs. And then I heard it. A voice, young and shaking, blurred by static or tears. "Dad," it whispered, "open the door. I'm so cold." It was my son's voice. My son who had been gone for 4 years. In that instant, the world I knew, the world of lonely mornings and managed grief, cracked right down the middle, and the only thing left to do was to walk to the front door and face whatever was on the other side. My life, after the accident, had settled into a quiet, narrow lane. I lived in the same house where we'd raised our boy, Michael. The walls were still lined with his photos. A gap-toothed 7-year-old, a lanky teenager holding up a fish. My wife, Sarah, had passed when Michael was just 10, so it had been the two of us for a long time. Then it was just me. Grief is a heavy coat you never take off. You just learn to move in it. I went to work, I paid the bills, I tended to the small backyard garden Michael had helped me start. His room stayed mostly as he left it, a museum of a life interrupted. I wasn't living in the past, I told myself. I was just honoring it. My sister-in-law, Diane, and her husband, Robert, saw it differently. They lived across town, successful, always moving forward. To them, my house, my habits, were a monument to stagnation. "You need to move on, Tom," Diane would say, her voice a mix of pity and impatience. "This place is too big for you. All this stuff, it's not healthy." She meant Michael's things. The bike in the garage, the boxes of childhood drawings, the winter jacket that still hung in the hall closet. The pressure turned a corner last Thanksgiving. It was just the three of us, a quiet meal that felt more like a board meeting. Over pie, Diane put her hand on mine. "Tom, we're worried. Robert's friend is a realtor, and he did a walk-by. He says the yard alone is dragging the value down. That old swing set, the overgrown garden patch, it looks neglected." The swing set. Michael and I built it over a long, sweaty weekend when he was 8. The garden patch was where he planted his first sunflower. My throat tightened. "It's not neglected," I said, my voice quieter than I intended. "It's just lived in." Robert cleared his throat. "The friend said if you did some pre-staging, he could list it quietly, a quick private sale, no stress. We could handle everything." The word "we" hung in the air. It was no longer a suggestion. It was an offer to take over. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The house wasn't just walls and a roof. It was my last connection to the family I had built. And I realized with a cold clarity that to them, it was just an asset, a piece of land waiting to be optimized. In the weeks that followed, the campaign became subtle, relentless. Diane would drop by with brochures for active adult communities. "Look at this clubhouse, Tom. You'd have people your own age around." Robert accidentally forwarded me an email from his realtor friend with a shockingly high potential listing price, the subject line reading, "Gold Mine on Maple." I started finding things out of place. A box in the garage labeled "Donate" would appear next to Michael's old hockey gear. I'd come home from work to find Diane had been by to check on the pipes and had tidied up the living room, shifting framed photos of Michael to a less prominent shelf. "It's just so you can see the television better," she'd explain. The worst was the Saturday they came over to help clean the gutters. I came back from the hardware store to find Robert in Michael's room measuring the windows. "Great light in here," he said, not looking at me. "A young family would love this room." Diane was in the closet, holding Michael's favorite jacket, the one he wore the winter he turned 16. It was a puffy blue thing, stained with motor oil from our project car. "This should probably go, Tom," she said, her voice soft but firm. "It's seen better days." I took it from her, my fingers brushing the cold zipper. I could still smell it, a faint mix of fabric, boy, and cold air. "No," I said, my voice finally finding some strength. "This stays." I hung it back up, right by the front door, where it had always been. That small act of defiance cost me. The visits became less frequent. The phone calls turned brief and formal. The loneliness, which had been a familiar ache, became a vast, silent house. I was protecting a shrine they were determined to dismantle. Then came the call. 3:47 a.m. My son's voice, pleading in the dark. "Dad, open the door. I'm so cold." The words tore through 4 years of scar tissue. I didn't think. I dropped the phone and stumbled down the hall, my breath coming in ragged gasps. My mind was a whirlwind of impossible hope and primal fear. I yanked open the front door. The porch light spilled onto the empty welcome mat. The cold night air rushed in. No one was there, just a quiet street, bathed in the blue glow of a street lamp. My heart plummeted. A cruel dream, a waking nightmare. I was about to shut the door, to collapse into the crushing reality of it, when my eyes fell on the hook beside the door. Michael's blue jacket was gone. A different kind of cold settled into my bones. This wasn't a ghost. This was a message. Someone had been here. Someone who knew his voice would destroy me. Someone who knew where that jacket hung.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। एक इसमें क़ब्र जो है वो है इनकी हज़रत मूसा अलैहिस्सलाम की क़ब्र मुबारक और हज़रत राबिया बसरी की है। और एक जगह जो है वो क़ब्र वो जो दिखाई दे रहा है पैर नीचे वो हज़रत मूसा अलैहिस्सलाम के हैं। वो जगह है जहाँ से आसमान पे उठाए गए थे हज़रत ईसा अलैहिस्सलाम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
The next morning, I didn't call Diane. I didn't rage. I made coffee. I sat at the kitchen table, the silence of the house now a thinking space, not a grieving one. Who knew Michael's voice well enough to imitate it? Who knew the emotional significance of that specific jacket? Who wanted me out of this house badly enough to try and make me think I was losing my mind? The answer was obvious, but proof was another matter. I started quietly. I called my phone company and after a long hold, managed to get a detailed log. The 3:47 a.m. call was routed through one of those internet phone services, untraceable by me. Next, I visited an old friend, a retired sound engineer. I showed him the security footage. "Can someone mimic a voice?" I asked. He nodded. "With a good, clean recording, absolutely. Especially a young voice. There are apps, it's not hard." A recording. Diane had dozens of old home videos on her computer. From holidays and birthdays, she was the family archivist. She had Michael's voice. My plan wasn't about confrontation, it was about setting a trap with dignity. I went to a local electronics store and bought 2 small, discreet wireless cameras, one for the living room, one for the front porch, with better night vision. I installed them myself. I changed the passwords on my Wi-Fi and my security app. I also went to see a lawyer, a gentle older woman who specialized in estates. I didn't accuse anyone. I simply asked, if I feel someone is attempting to coerce me into selling my home or questioning my mental competence for their own gain, what legal protections do I have? She helped me draft a simple, clear document stating my intent to remain in my home and had it notarized. I felt no anger as I did this, only a steady, firm resolve. Then I waited. I invited Diane and Robert over for dinner, saying I'd been thinking about their ideas and wanted to talk. I was calm, I was polite. I served the meal in the living room in full view of the new camera. The conversation was a masterpiece of their own making. Diane, emboldened by my apparent openness, laid out the full plan. The realtor was ready. They had a storage unit picked out for my keepsakes. They even had a painter lined up. "It's for the best, Tom," Robert said, sipping his wine. "This place, it's full of ghosts. That phone call you mentioned the other day, see? Your mind is playing tricks. You need a fresh start for your own good." I put my fork down. What phone call? I asked, my voice even. Diane shifted. You said something about a strange call last time we spoke. I never mentioned the phone call to you, Diane, I said, looking directly at her. Not a word. A flicker of panic crossed her face. Robert jumped in. Well, you must have, or we just assumed. You've been under a lot of strain. I stood up, walked to the bookshelf, and pulled out a manila envelope. I slid the notarized document across the coffee table. This states my wish to live in my home for the rest of my life. My lawyer has a copy. Then I picked up my tablet, opened the security app, and played the porch video from the night of the call, the figure taking the jacket. I watched their faces pale. The police have this footage too, I said, which was true. I had filed a report for theft and harassment. They traced the internet phone call. It originated from an IP address registered to Robert's office. That part was a bluff, but it landed. Robert's mouth fell open. The final piece. I cued the living room camera's audio from that night. I played back Robert's own words, clear as a bell. This place, it's full of ghosts. That phone call you mentioned. See? Your mind is playing tricks. The room was utterly silent. The realization dawned on them, slow and terrible. They were not caught in a moment of passion. They were caught in a cold, calculated plan, recorded in their own words. The jacket, I said, softly. Where is it? Diane's eyes filled with tears, not of remorse, but of being caught. It was just to make a point, Tom, to show you how stuck you are. We were going to give it back. You used my son's voice, I said. The sentence sat between us, a monument to their betrayal. You can leave now. Do not come back. Any further communication will go through my lawyer. They left without another word. A week later, a package arrived on my porch. No note. Inside, folded neatly, was Michael's blue jacket. I held it to my face. It still smelled like outside, like memory. The police chose not to pursue charges, citing a family dispute, but the official report existed. The boundaries were set, not with a shout, but with the unassailable truth of a recording. Diana and Robert are out of my life. The house is quiet again, but the silence is different now. It's mine. It's peaceful. I still talk to Michael. I still visit his room, but I'm not guarding a fortress anymore. I'm tending a garden. I finally planted new flowers in that patch by the swing set. I realized that protecting a memory doesn't mean freezing it in place. It means keeping it safe so you can still grow around it. Grief is a heavy coat. It's true, but you get to decide who helps you carry its weight and who just tries to take it from the hook by the door. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more real-life stories about family, healing, and quiet strength. Share your own thoughts in the comments below. I read every one. Thank you for listening.